So welcome, this is Claire from Life Skills with Mrs. T, and I have got the fabulous Vikki Barnes with me today. She is a clinical psychologist specialising in positive psychology and happiness. We've worked together now for a few years. We met in children's services many moons ago, and so I've been firsthand experiencing the wonderful mindfulness work that Vikki has done. And I just wanted to get her on, have a chat about why mindfulness is important and how sewing can help. So yes, Vikki, thank you for coming on today and having a chat with me. Hope you're doing well. So tell us a little bit more about what you do and mindfulness.
Hi Claire, thanks so much for having me. It's nice to see you. It's been a while. So you've just very nicely introduced me. I am a clinical psychologist and I do indeed specialise in this wonderful science called positive psychology, which is all about human flourishing and being your best self no matter what you've got going on in the world, which for us right now in the world is quite a lot, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And happiness is the aim, but it's not something that we have to be all of the time. So my bread and butter, I suppose, as you know, because we met when I was working as a clinician, as you say, in children's services, my bread and butter is mental health. So I've been working in the mental health arena for many years, and I just wanted to find a positive movement towards mental well-being rather than a focus all the time on ill health, because I think often if we focus on what we can do and what we're good at and what we enjoy, like sewing, for example, then that often helps to shift everything else back into perspective for us to live our best life.
Definitely, and I'd agree with that. I think I've shared quite often on my page that when I had chronic fatigue syndrome, just being able to sew meant that I could focus on something I was doing, something positive that wasn't just sort of focusing on how I was feeling and that I couldn't do work as normal. So yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're one of the lucky ones that has this real passion for something that you're also turning into a business, and hopefully I'm the same. But having something like sewing is just you're really in the moment, aren't you? And you found this thing that you can do that you can be perfectly mindful with. So yeah, you're definitely right up there with one of the lucky ones. So hopefully you'll have some people following your lead.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, tell us a bit more about mindfulness. Why do you feel it's important?
Crikey. So, well, shall I tell you a bit about my journey into how I came across mindfulness?
Yeah, that'll be good. Share a bit more about how you ended up here.
Okay. So as I say, I've been doing like mental health work for a long time, and anybody that knows, any psychologist knows it takes a while to train and to find what you're good at. And I think the first time I tried mindfulness, I was expecting this big shining light to hit me, or a halo, or I don't know, a kind of moment where I would feel myself rising off the ground or something. I don't know, like out of body experience to happen. And obviously that didn't happen because that's not what mindfulness is about, right? So I think when I first went into it, I was a little bit naive. And whilst it's talked about a lot more these days, I still think there are people out there that think it's a bit kind of magical, mystical, and maybe not for them. And of course it isn't for everyone. But my experience of mindfulness has become something that is just every day, if you just stop and slow down and take some time to notice what's around you. Like now I'm on a call with you and I'm really kind of focused on you, and I'm not thinking about what just happened before this call or what I might be doing after. So I'm really focused on our conversation, and that's being mindfulness. Or perhaps after this call I'll sit and just kind of look at the trees for a while because I'm outside having my nature time, and maybe look at how green everything is, or feel the wind on my face, or listen to the birds or whatever. And all of that is mindfulness. So we can do it all the time, and that's the really nice thing about it. And the reason it's important is, I work with a lot of people. I work with individuals and organisations at the moment, basically just to better their mental well-being programs or services or offering or whatever it is. And mindfulness is always something that people have heard of, but they're not quite sure how to do it. So I spend a lot of time trying to help people think about how to do that. So I know we're going to talk about it a bit more detail, but to have that a specific idea and for you to come up with this business that is basically bringing mindfulness into your world through a particular skill is absolutely amazing, because quite often people just don't really know what to turn to, I think. How to be mindful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does make sense. I think there's so many different things out there, and sometimes it's picking on a skill that works for you. So I mean, what sort of techniques do you teach people? What sort of skills would you say that you teach people?
Oh, quite a few. I think the first one, well, breathing's always the first one. The way to introduce yourself to mindfulness is just to take a few deep breaths and to just focus on your breath and slow down and not focus on anything else. And then the next step is, I guess, to think about, well, there's lots of thoughts in our minds all the time, and it's very hard to stop those. So it's not about stopping them. It's just about noticing when we've got a lot of chatter in our minds and trying to just see it as something that's passing us by and just let that go.
Yeah.
Another thing is just to practice it often. So to try and bring a mindfulness activity into your life as regularly as possible. So perhaps putting aside a couple of minutes a day, it's all it takes. It doesn't have to be hours at a time. And to kind of just take the pressure off and just stop. Don't think about the future. Don't think about the past. Just be right here in this moment.
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree with that. And I think that's for me what sewing does. And I mean, some days I will spend hours on my sewing machine, but it depends what mood I'm in. But I think it is that whole element of being just in the moment. You know, I've got my sewing machine out, and my problem is I'm a bit of a doer. I'm not very good at sitting still and just being. It's something I have to work on all the time. And I think that's where with sewing, it's a really good balance, because I can still be doing something and being creative, but actually it helps me to just quieten, as you say, that chatter in your voice and just be in the moment sewing, which I just love. And I just love the fact that you get something creative at the end of it, so I can use my creative streak to make something lovely, which is always good fun as well.
That's why it's such a great idea, because rather than, I mean, mindfulness in itself is amazing. So just being able to focus and quiet your mind and focused on the moment is fabulous. But for you to actually have something at the end of it that you've produced that's really creative, that you can either, you know, have in your own home as a memory or give to somebody else, which is lovely, is yeah, fantastic. That's even better. That's like going a step beyond mindfulness, like mindfulness.
It's mindfulness extra.
Yeah,
like exactly. A plus element to it.
There's the name for your business.
The mindfulness plus. Yeah, we'll ignore the life skills with this. We'll call it mindfulness plus. I think I'll go about changing it. Yeah, definitely. Oh, so thank you, Vikki. It's been great to catch up with you and briefly chat about what it means to be mindful. And if anyone is interested in more of what Vikki does, then you can find her on LinkedIn. Anywhere else? I don't know, where else can we find you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, if you just search Dr Vikki Barnes, Twitter and Instagram, same, Dr Vikki Barnes. So, and I'm creating a website, but that's not quite ready yet, but it will be very soon. So watch this space, and that will be drvikkibarnes.co.uk.
Great. Yeah, websites, they always seem to take longer than you think, don't they?
Yeah, they do when you'd rather be sewing than designing a website, for sure.
Definitely. Definitely learned in the last year of business how to set up and develop a website. That's been another skill, but don't worry, I'm not going to be teaching on that. I'll leave it to the experts.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. And if you want to know more about sewing for mindfulness, then do take a look at lifeskillswithmrst.co.uk. And we've also got some sewing kits. If you want to learn to sew at home and be mindful at home, then there are sewing kits where you can do rainbow bunting, as you can see behind me. And you can do that with hand stitching, so you don't have to have a sewing machine, but you're still using your hands. And you can also use kits with sewing machines. So yeah, great to hang out and catch up with you all soon. Bye.